If you just joined, thank you for joining. This is the Musen Universe uh, Music Therapies Awareness event. I have partnered with Allyson Rodgers here, who has her own company called Music and Miracles. So you can learn more about her and her company as well after this. If you want to follow her, find her online, or just seek some guidance. I know music therapy is awesome. Like all mental health is great. But I personally love music and like using music as a way to um, connect with my emotions and like kind of see how I'm feeling. And like sometimes it's hard for me personally to say how I'm feeling. So I use music a lot to like express myself and like writing music or just like journaling and like turning it into a song. Um, I saw my bandmate is here, so he knows he gets to listen to all my strange lyrics that come out of me. Um, but it is 11, so I'm gonna officially start this with the first question for you, which many are probably wondering: what is music therapy?
And I always like to say it's so hard to distill it down into like a really concise statement. I always make the joke when I introduce it at like a networking event that we have an entire textbook called Defining Music Therapy. So that's how broad and deep music therapy can go. But the easy version is music therapy is the use of music interventions to achieve non-musical goals. So it is an allied healthcare profession. We are evidence-based practice. And some of those non-musical goals that we might, or needs that we might be fulfilling are like emotional, physical, spiritual, social communication, etc. But we're using music as the means within a therapeutic relationship, so client and board certified music therapist, to achieve that. So some musical interventions, some might be playing instruments or singing. Those are some of my favorite things to do, especially singing. So it's just using music as the tool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, who I know that it's since this is a tool and just like the whole experience of taking therapy, like this is something that anybody could do, right? Like it's not just for like special needs for people, or like I know a lot of people with dementia use it these days. Um, how would you recommend the usage of like music therapy, and like who would you recommend it to?
Yeah, that's a good question. And actually, you bring up a good point because what I'm loving is so I got started in music therapy, like started my training back in 2013. And I mean, that's only been 12 years, 12 years ago. But back
Time
then,
passes so
yeah,
fast.
I was
It's
like,
scary.
oh gosh. But back then, really, music therapy was not like there weren't too many people that I interacted with that knew what it was. So when I would tell people what I was studying, they'd go, "What?" But nowadays, more and more when I tell people what I do, they go, "Oh yeah, I see music for children like in school settings or for older adults." Which is totally the case. But I always say, well, music therapy is for everybody, really, regardless of ability, regardless of age, regardless of even musical ability. You don't have to have any musical ability to benefit from music therapy services. The biggest thing is that when we come in, when we first meet someone, we do an assessment to create our treatment plan. And through that assessment, we can determine, is this person really going to benefit from music therapy services, or would they be better suited somewhere else? So I always share that, even adults can really, really benefit from it, supporting their mental health, supporting relationships. So it can be for anyone.
That's awesome. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
have to try it myself too. It
Mm-hmm.
sounds great.
Yeah.
And then I kind of related, but in terms of like music and like I'm seeing definitely a movement in the last few years, like you mentioned, where like using art as like a way to improve mental health
Mm-hmm.
has grown significantly. I feel like at least since 2020, I've noticed like an increase, obviously, on like pushing for good mental health, and then this other side of it where it's like I want to use art to feel better, right? So why is it like what is it about music that makes it feel so good? Like how does it affect our emotions so strongly, would you say?
Mhm. It's the way that music is processed in the brain. And I won't get into all the nerdy neuroscience of it, even though it's really interesting, but we could be here
Yeah.
all day. But the way that it's processed throughout the brain. So it can activate our emotional centers, our memory centers, our reward centers. It helps us to release the feel good neurotransmitters and hormones like dopamine and oxytocin. So all of those things can help us to lower our stress, raise our immunity. We actually are able to feel our emotions instead of just processing them up here and talking about them. We can actually feel it just from the way that it's processed. And
That's sick.
so because of all of that, like all of those neurotransmitters and hormones and things that make us feel good, it's also motivating us, and it feels like a reward. Just, it feels pleasurable, which then has those benefits of like helping us to regulate our body. So those are some of like the small reasons why music helps us to feel so good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Is that also why, like, this is funny because I always talk to my mom about this. Is like she's always dancing. She loves Zumba. And I feel like when I go dancing myself, it's like, wow, I feel like I just like shed like 20 pounds of issues that were just like stuck in my brain. Like, is that also kind of related to why music intertwined with like dancing and just like releasing feels that good?
Yeah, yeah. So like I think about and I don't always do this when I'm at the gym. Sometimes I just listen to what's playing in the gym just to get ideas. But when I'm listening to my favorite songs, especially like songs that are kind of like my pump up
Yeah.
songs, I'm more motivated at the gym because what's happening is our body is matching the rhythm. It's matching what's happening in the song. It's through something called entrainment. And so it gets our heart rate pumping. It gets our oxygen flowing, and that's why we feel just like extra motivated. Plus usually there's songs that we like, or if we're in a
Yeah.
class they're usually going to play like really popular music that we've heard before, and there's something about that familiarity that just gets us really excited. It feels comfortable and it allows us to be more expressive and explore our bodies more and like get us going a little bit more.
Oh, nice. Amazing. I
Yeah.
see Ingris, which is also my aunt, her DT,
Uh,
says music is medicine for the soul. I agree. I agree. This is literally why I made music, because I was like, this is like the way I can express myself and it makes me feel good. So that's what started music actually. So this is great to hear. Like, I love hearing the science behind it as well, because I'm like, okay, there must be a reason. Like, I'm also a biology geek, so I'm always like, okay, if it's happening, like there's a reason for it. So I love that you like went into the biology of it all, and I definitely want to talk about more about that on another time, because it's crazy how chemical we like build humans are to just like feel all of this, and it just like works and it makes us feel better. Like, we should use it as a tool for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, it
um
affects all of our anatomy and physiology. And actually, when I was an intern, I did a presentation on the anatomy of music. And so maybe that's something that we can bring back and we can chat about how it affects all of our organ systems.
oh, that's so cool. Yes, we should.
Yeah.
um and then kind of related, but more in like a different direction. So what are things that people can do on their own to use music as a therapeutic activity, um even if it's outside like visiting a music therapist?
For sure. There's so many things that you can do. And I would say, like, my interactions, especially when I go into the hospital. So if I'm not seeing patients at my clinic, I'll go out into the community. And when I interact with people, a lot of times it's just a hesitation of, well, but I'm an adult, I've kind of passed that age of taking classes and learning something new. Like, it's too late. I'm not a singer. I'm not this. I'm not that. It's never too late to learn something new. One. But two, there's so many ways that we can bring more creativity, not just music, but creativity in general into our lives. I'm really passionate about that. So some things are being more intentional about the way that you're consuming music. So maybe you set aside a time with some of your friends and you just sit and you talk about songs that you enjoy. You share songs with each other. You can learn so much about other people from sharing music with each other. And maybe you'll find that there's a song or an artist that you've never listened to that you really like. And so you get to bond with your friends through that. Maybe you have children. And so it's coming up with playlists together, creating the things that you hear in the house or in the car. We always have things going on in the house, noise going on in the house. So maybe instead of a TV show in the background, you have your family playlist that you've put together, and it's songs that make you feel good or make you feel a certain way.
Oh, that's so cute.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
Family bonding. Pick up an instrument, take lessons, or if you there's so many YouTube videos. So there's things out there that are free where if you have an instrument laying around, I can't tell you the number of people that I interact with that have instruments. They just don't always have the space. So set aside like 5 minutes and just fiddle around. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just we're exploring. We're just trying. And then some other things I like are, pulling art supplies, doing journaling. All of those things are creative things that you can do on your own that you don't need to come to music therapy for. You can do it very cost effectively. And it's just helping you get to know yourself a little bit more and get to spend time with yourself. And then my favorite finally is like walking to music, dancing to music, put on a fun pump up song while you're getting ready in the morning, shake your booty a little. It does wonders to get your day started on the right foot. So those are some easy ways to do that.
Yes, I'm definitely gonna go do some dancing after here.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then actually I see a question from Natalie Freitas, aka my best friend. She's asking, is there a particular genre that works best in music therapy?
Great question. So no, the best thing that works in music therapy is preferred music. So when I come into somebody for the first time, I'm going to ask them, when we're getting to know each other in an intake, I'm going to say, what kind of artists do you like? What kind of music do you typically lean towards? Are there any songs that come to mind? What were some things that maybe you listened to with your family? That can tell you so much about the direction of music that they are familiar with, because that comfortable, familiar music is the best place to start.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that makes sense, because it's like your pleasure center, right, of your brain. So it's like, it's because of the comfort of it too. Have you noticed if when people tell you a genre, like have you noticed if their personalities match kind of like their genre that they're really into?
I could see that. Like sometimes people surprise me, especially when I go into the hospital. I never know what I'm gonna walk into, and sometimes it's songs or not even genres, but bands that I'm like, huh, you know what? You're gonna teach me something today because I don't know what that is. But there have been a few where I'm like, that checks. But for a lot of people, it's think back to when you were a teenager and like your personality like kind of centered around the way that you dress, the things that you listened to, the groups that you hung out with, like as far as concerts and things, like we would all dress kind of the same colors, the same way. So I would say it kind of translates in that way too, is you express yourselves outwardly through like your clothes, and a lot of times it'll be like bands or songs or things. So I've noticed that. So most of the time they do match up, but sometimes people throw me for a loop.
That makes sense. And it's interesting how culture takes such a big piece of like what music people listen to as well, because that's what you're saying, is like when you're a teenager and everyone's kind of dressed the same. Like I remember being in high school, it's like, oh my god, these are the girls that love Jonas Brothers, these are the girls that love Miley Cyrus. And like even now it's like you can like there's such a wide variety of music just because there's so many cultures as well. And it's so interesting to see that you get surprised sometimes of like, oh yeah, I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I get it. I know people that are like super country, and then they're like, oh yeah, but I also love dubstep, and I'm like, oh totally, sure, like whatever works your boat, dude. Like they're both awesome.
No, and kind of going back to what you just said of like the groups that have like the fandoms. I know you had asked me a question of like live music and why is that beneficial, and I think it always boils down to it helps you feel part of something bigger than you. It helps you to feel like you're in a community. And so you think about like the Swifties. I'm one of them. The Swifties, like we all get together and we're filling stadiums and all there present at that same time, singing like the same lyrics, wearing sparkles. You just find community in that shared experience. There's something really beautiful about that. So it makes sense why we kind of like share that in the way that we dress. But culture is such a big part of what we do as music therapists as well. So it's honestly, it's opened my eyes to other styles of music and cultures that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to be in relationship with. So that's been a really beautiful part of this job as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, and kind of going back to the live music of it all, like what how is that beneficial, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously there's that sense of community, but how good is that for someone when they take that moment of like, oh, I'm going to this concert, or I'm going to this dance party, or I'm going to this Zumba class, or whatever it might be, where like you do have that community. Like, how does that affect you for the better when you
Mm-hmm.
do take that moment to like, I'm gonna disconnect myself from like social media and everything else that's happening around and kind of just like focus on myself and like be in the space with other people that are also enjoying this at the same time.
Yeah, I think you hit it right there. It's that presence and that just being in the moment, and being with others, socializing with others, being feeling like you belong to a bigger group. And then outside of that, like, going to live music, you also are experiencing it through all of your senses. So you're hearing it, you're seeing it, you're feeling it. Oh, there's nothing like standing. It's so bad for
Yes.
your hearing. You have to wear earplugs.
Yeah.
But there's nothing like standing under the subs and feeling it shake. I loved that as a teen. It was so
Yeah.
fun. Plus, you're up close to the stage. But
Yes. Yeah.
but for music therapists, and I love using recorded music. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think sometimes it can get a little bit of a bad rep in our field, but as long as you know how to use it in a healthy way. But we pride ourselves on obviously incorporating live music because there's so much benefit to us being able to alter and adjust as needed. So I can help a patient regulate their heart rate. I can help them to regulate their breathing. We can, slow to regulate our emotions. We can speed it up if we need to feel it a little bit
Oh my
more.
God.
And there's so much in it, in our voice too, the way that we speak. It can tell me a lot about a person. So we can become more aware of our body and our emotions and our mind. So that's why live music is top notch.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I love I was talking to someone the other day and I was like, what's the favorite part when you go to a concert? And I was like, my favorite is kind of like, that moment when they're about to start and then it's just like you're just like waiting and the fans are like craving and then everyone just feels like there's this like common denominator that everyone's just like patiently waiting, but you just get the goosebumps when you hear that like first like drum set or like the guitar and it's just like so magical when you're just like, oh my God, like I can't believe this is here and it's so nice. Like it's crazy how beneficial is music and just like experiencing well as a whole, and with other people when you're by yourself. Like there seems to be so much that you could do with it, which is great.
Oh yeah.
And then I have one more question for you, and then in case somebody else in the chat wants to ask a question or something. But how can someone find a music therapist, like if they're looking to seek in their journey?
Yeah, good question. So honestly, you can Google, so it will pull up therapists in your area. That's not always the best one, just because sometimes Google, like, it doesn't always register like the private practices, but you can just type in music therapist Nashville, that's where I am, or music therapist LA. But the easiest way is going to the Certification Board for Music Therapists website, so cbmt.org. And there's a place there to find a therapist. There's like a directory of board certified music therapists. And so that's
Nice.
probably another way that would be an easy way to find someone.
Yeah, and that feels like the safest.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you'll find
If you
you'll
want to be
find
a
a
therapist,
board
go
certified
there.
music therapist. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is amazing. I want to know in case people in the chat have additional questions. I don't see any more, but I'll give them like a minute or two to answer if, in case somebody has questions. But I'll leave it to you. Like, is there anything that you wish we talked about today that you wish people knew more about in music therapy?
Well, I guess I'll share a little bit about my practice and what I do.
Yeah.
So I'm Allyson, and I'm the owner of Music and Miracles. We're located in Nashville, Tennessee, and we service Middle Tennessee and Chattanooga in person, but we also do teletherapy. So we're able to see people even outside of Tennessee, which is really cool. We actually just announced a group that's going to be on March 27th in the evening, 6:30 Central, and it's called Thanks for the Memories, a music and wellness group for emo kids at heart. So if you're a fan of
That's
emo or pop
awesome.
punk, early 2000s, it's going to be a space where we can listen to songs and talk about them. I have some songwriting things up my sleeve because I love it, and I promise it's not as scary as it sounds. So that's a thing that's coming up for us this month. But we see all ages, all abilities. My particular specialty is working in mental health, supporting families in early childhood and pregnancy and postpartum, but also supporting adults through anxiety, depression, stress, trauma, attachment needs. And also folks in the music industry. So I have a real love for supporting other artists, touring artists, and people who work behind the scenes. So that's a little bit about what we do.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's so cool. I guess I'd never thought of this, but just working with the actual like artists that are like touring artists, and I could see how there's a lot that they have to unpack
Yeah.
throughout the time, because I know that they're usually like the source of the music, but then when you think about it, like I'm sure a lot of artists need that space for themselves to be like, wait a minute, like I just traveled the whole world in 6 months. Like what just happened?
For sure. And it kind of
um,
found me being here in Nashville. Like I had artists reaching out and I thought, oh, of course other musicians need music therapy. Like their
yeah,
relationship with music has changed so much. And so how can we use the thing that they are drawn to help heal them as well? So
yeah,
yeah.
totally. And I have a question from, well, a question and a thought from Natalie Freitas. She's actually a
Love
doctor
it.
herself, and she said that she read somewhere that they did some research on ICU patients that helped them recover, where music therapy or like music helped them recover faster. So you thought that was really cool. I've read
Definitely.
something like that before as well, where music they're using a lot of music to do research on like really ill patients.
Yes. They definitely do. I actually do go into the hospital. I have a contract that I feel very, very blessed to have. I go in once a week to a hospital setting that's specific for neurorehabilitation. And so
Oh,
I help support on their treatment team with speech therapists, physical therapists, and occupational therapists. And we co treat and work on things like gait, speech, if someone's had a brain injury and it's affected their expressive or receptive speech, and things like that. I have also gone into a hospital setting, pediatrics for oncology,
oh wow.
and like down unit. And I do have a ton of colleagues that go into the ICU, a lot that are trained in NICU. I'm also trained in that as well. So supporting premature infants with music. And yes, it definitely helps the process. I say a lot of it is normalizing the environment, especially for our little ones that are in the hospital, making it feel less scary, providing space for their family to come in and sit with them and have a special moment. It also helps with a lot of the physiologic things I talked about earlier with heart rate and regulation and respiratory rate.
Wow.
And the emotional side of it too, because part of the healing process is also the emotions that come with that. So I'm really big on bringing in the mental health aspect of it.
That's awesome. Yeah, how have you seen that patients with dementia do with like dementia and like um Alzheimer's?
Yeah. Oh, I've had some incredible moments with that where, like for instance, some patients that are pretty non-speaking at the stage of dementia that they have, but are able to sing full songs
Oh
and they're present with
wow.
me through the whole session, tapping along and really responding to the music.
Wow.
And for some time after our sessions, they're able to have conversations with their loved ones. I've also done a lot of work just in with older adults, even in like assisted living facilities where we've written songs together and processed how they're feeling about being
Oh,
in that environment and the special bonds that they've made with their fellow residents. And
yeah.
it's been really beautiful work.
Yeah, it's really cute. My grandma has dementia, and she, for some reason, is obsessed with this like Mexican singer. So she sometimes she's like a little lost, you know, and then we'll play this song for her and she sings the whole thing. We're like, oh my God. It's awesome though. Like I obviously you probably know more, but like is that because the it's like a different area of your brain that like processes music versus like I
Exactly.
don't know, memory?
It's
Okay.
so the way that it's processed is throughout the whole brain. And so even though our speech center might be affected by like a brain injury or by an Alzheimer's or what have you,
Mm-hmm.
the music is processed in different parts. And so it allows us to connect both hemispheres and to be able to have a response, even if we wouldn't have that in another way.
Whoa.
So it
Okay.
allows some of those, I call like, especially if I'm helping someone in recovery, I talk about like the we're creating new pathways, we're creating new highways in our brain, and so sometimes we might have a little roadblock that it's being worked on, and so we find another way through music, and it allows it to smooth the ride a little bit
Oh,
as we build on those other things that have been injured or affected.
whoa. That's so interesting. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Mhm.
Okay.
One
And
more
I have
question.
yeah, we have one more question and then we will wrap up here for Ingrid. Can music therapy be online?
Can. I think there's so much benefit that can come from music therapy being virtual, and I've done it quite a bit since COVID. During the pandemic, we kind of had to figure out how to pivot, right? And so that was like, we can actually do music therapy online. And there's so many benefits to the live, like in person, that, people can access different instruments and things. But I love virtual music therapy because we can do games, we can songwrite, we can talk about music, we can sing together, we can still play instruments, but maybe they're digital. So it just
Oh
opens up a
yeah.
whole new world for what we can do.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's good. And then sorry, one more. And then Nat said she had a patient with brain injury that had trouble speaking, and then they were able to sing full songs without issue because his hobby was just going to karaoke.
Yes, I see it every week. It's so I know the science behind it, but every time it just makes me go, "Oh my gosh, it
Yeah,
worked."
that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
so cool. Well, Allyson, thank you so much. You're wonderful.
Oh,
And
thank
thank you so much,
you.
everyone, for taking the time to join me and Allyson in this little discussion. I hope to host more of these in the future, and just because I'm a science geek and I love just like teaching people and myself like new things such as music therapy. So thank you so much, Allyson. I hope you
Yes.
have an awesome day and take care.
You too. Thank you so much. I really appreciated having a space to share my nerdy moments.
Yes, I love it. Let's be nerdy together. It's fun.
Right? Thank
Thank you,
you.
Allyson. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.